Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host, Matt Marrero, along with your other host,
Anthony Sinandris.
And today, we're talking about a movie that I really enjoy, despite the fact that I just went on a fucking rant talking to Anthony Sinandris before the show, making it seem like this movie was worse than Ghost Rider.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Ghost Rider, by the way.
I love this so much, yeah.
We got Nicolas Cage in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Nicolas Cage, who's, I feel like his entire career has been based around the motto, what the fuck is he doing? It's such a beautiful thing, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So, I mean, we essentially got two Marvel characters in this movie. We got Ghost Rider and Quicksilver.
We got Ghost Rider, we got Quicksilver, we got,
Sinestro.
I'm sure in 10 years, Sinestro?
From DC, yeah. Mark Strong.
Oh, fuck, I knew he looked familiar.
Yeah.
Mind you, he had makeup on and shit and CG, but I knew he looked familiar. I knew his name was familiar to me when I looked him up. I was like, wait, this guy is familiar. Anyway, so, by the way, last time, sadly, we didn't really do when we did Iron Man and Hulk, we didn't do this movie came out in X year. Because I think we were kind of sitting around like, you guys, you know.
Yeah.
But, right, for KickAss, if you don't remember, this movie came out in 2010, not that long ago, but still 6 years ago. And you can tell, because literally, you can tell how old a movie is by how old Chloe Grace Moretz is. It's like, literally just, you can sit there and just be like, oh, Chloe Grace Moretz is in this movie. How old is it really?
See, I thought you were going to go the route where it's like, you can tell how old it is by the fact that KickAss uses MySpace as his website.
That was one of my first thoughts, but like my bigger thought was, for me anyway, was, oh snap, they actually used MySpace like in the comics, which is nice. Some of this movie is a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. Honestly, I have a question for you before I go on, and before we both go on about the movie. I have a question. How did the fans react when it came out?
From what I understand, they were really happy about it. I mean, some of them were like kind of nitpicky with certain changes. Some of them you mentioned, such as the jetpack at the end. What? Yeah, and I mentioned it before the show began, but I mean, I'm sure everyone, unless maybe you didn't read the comic, and that's not like a jerk or elitist, but I feel like everyone was just like, fucking jetpack? Yeah.
Like,
I mean, initially I was okay with it because I hadn't read the comic first, and when I read the comic, I was like, oh, I kind of get why people were pissed about the jetpack.
I didn't even read the comic, but when I first saw it, I loved the entire movie. I was kind of like, oh, really, he got the girl? But I think many people are because of the trope. But, we'll get to the bigger problem on that later. But the jetpack, I don't know. I sat there, and I was like, but, guys, you're going for more of a... Like, if he was Batman, I know technically, Big Daddy has all that money and yada yada, but, so that's why they were able to buy those gadgets. But still, he's not, KickAss is not Batman, he's more Spider-Man without the heroes. Without the powers, rather, so he's just a hero, not a superhero. Or he's more like a hero, or anti-hero, rather, in Punisher, just without any of the fucking training. So, he's very street level. The fact that he was just coming in with a jetpack, it's just like, guys, I know that maybe at that point, some will say, oh, they were trying to embrace the idea of being a superhero and things like that. They were trying to embrace the crazy. But it didn't have to be that crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah. I do like the build-up to it, though. I thought that was pretty cool, because I like the fact if you're going to go for it, go for some great build-up, and they really did. Nicolas Cage's reaction was probably my favorite. When he goes, how much was, oh my God. And I was like, yes.
By the way, I would like to mention, Nicolas Cage, despite one scene, he was actually fantastic in this movie.
I really loved him in this, but what was your one scene, out of curiosity?
What Nicolas Cage, I don't know what planet he's from, but somewhere they said, Nicolas Cage, this is what screaming is. Please, remember that in your travels on Earth. Like, I love Nicolas Cage so much, right? But just that scene, I was like, why the fuck? And it's funny, I wanted to say, like, what the fuck is he doing? right? Like I mentioned earlier, that's the motto, right? I was like, what the fuck is he doing? But then I realized, if at this point in Nicolas Cage's career, I'm asking that question, what the fuck am I doing?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, but because here's the thing, right? For anyone saying, oh, he was a bad Big Daddy. First off, you're right. Second, like, he was a different interpretation, clearly. We're not going for what the comic books were doing in terms of being Big Daddy. But the human, like the human version of him, i.e. out of the suit, he really was the character, in my opinion. Like, absolutely. I think that, you know, like, I really think that maybe minus a couple of, like, the stupid dad jokes, but we're still accurate to being, a, you know, like a dad, right? Those dad jokes. But minus some of the dad jokes, he really was that character. Although I have to say, right, did you pick up what I think anyway? I haven't seen any Nicolas Cage interviews about this movie. But did you pick up what I think he was trying to do when he was dressed up as Big Daddy? Like, the way he spoke? Did you pick up what he was trying to do, or, like, who he was trying to be?
Not really.
I think he was trying to be Adam West's Batman.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Don't you hear it now?
Yeah. Oh, my God. Okay. Yeah, I get it now.
Yeah, no. Like, here's the thing, right? I was watching this, and I'm like, he can't just do that when he puts on the mask and not, like, no one fucking questions it. So I sat there, and the way he was like, why, hello, KickAss. Like, in a way, you could also say William Shatner, but when it was him and Red Mist, he goes, KickAss and Red Mist. Yes, it is very nice to see you both. And the way he moved his head, I was like, he's literally fucking being Adam West right now.
I did not realize this at all. I got to rewatch the movie again.
Yeah, right? But you can see it all now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, again, I can understand why some people would find it jarring because, again, Big Daddy was not like that at all. In fact, Big Daddy didn't have that suit design at all. His suit design was a lot more practical and less Batman. Now, in the movie, they could make that Batman joke for some weird reason. I don't know why. But, and it was funny in the movie, to be fair. Like, hey, he was Batman. I didn't say Batman!
Well, yeah. All right, yeah, he said Batman. I didn't say fucking Batman!
Yeah, but you know he had the cape and the mask. So you're telling me that fucking Superman, Batman. I didn't say Batman! like overall, you know what's interesting, right? Because certain aspects of the comic really transferred over well, in my opinion. Right? Like the fact that they kept the gratuitous violence, because that's the fucking point, you know? Like again, they didn't say it in the movie, sadly, but an amazing line in the comic was, you know, KickAss said, "I don't kill people," and Hit Girl says, "What is this, the Silver Age?" And I was like, yeah. I was like, that's nice. Or was it silver or golden? Either way, it was still very. It was silver. Yeah, she was like, "What is this, the Silver Age? Like, what are we, Silver Age heroes?" And I was like, that's very accurate. Great job. You know, because things have changed. I mean, really, even Batman, depending on the fucking, you know, like what has to go on, may have to kill, quote unquote, kill someone because he didn't mean to. But like, what else could he have done? You know, like fucking heroes have changed over time. Like even arguably the fact that like Batman still doesn't kill anyone, but you look at past Batman in terms of how he dresses, right? And it's a lot more dark and gritty now. You know, but yeah, it was just very interesting, I think, seeing what did transfer over well. But then, of course, as you and I noticed, right, certain things, in a way, they completely, I don't want to use the word betrayed because I feel like I'm going way too fucking over the edge for a movie that I really enjoy. But I'll use the word betrayed. Some of the aspects in the comic that I think really were more real and grounded. And I know we mentioned, you might be thinking, Matt, you're still on the jetpack? Not even. Right? I think now we have to talk about, and we're going to be very out of order because I don't want to sit here and just nitpick everything that was different from the comics, going like, you know, those muggers, it wasn't nighttime. No nighttime, no happy Matt. You know, like, I don't want to do that. Right? But I will say that the fact that Katie and Dave got together was just really fucking stupid to me. And really went against one reality. And I know some people would say, well, Matt, this is a movie. We're starting to get really fucking meta. In real life, Dave would have been killed. And it's like, yes, right? Because like, we're getting real fucking meta. But it's like, yes, he would have gotten killed immediately, even more killed than he did, when he got his ass kicked. He would have gotten more. He would have been ass kicked. Huh. But yeah, I really just don't understand, why they went with that. And I read some interviews, I'm sure you did too, that they said, the Katie and Dave relationship kind of so it was the juxtaposition, like it juxtaposed all of the the ultra violent stuff going on, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why they wanted that there. And I'm not saying it couldn't be there. I just feel like the fact that it worked, the fact that, and they put in more stuff. Like in the comic, if anyone didn't read the comic, they didn't have the scene where like he put some, tan lotion on her or self-tan on her. It was mostly just them hanging out 2 or 3 times or less, right? Yeah. But he got to know her so well here. The fact that he was just like, by the way, I'm not gay. That was all a ploy. The fact that fucking worked and he got the girl was really just like, guys, you don't fucking understand that this isn't, like, that would never work. He would get his ass kicked like he did in the comics. And frankly, it's more relevant here, I think, than in the comic. In the comics, it was a lot more cynical and a lot more of, like, cynicism. But here, it actually would make sense. Not that it didn't make sense there, but it would even be more appropriate for her to be like, are you fucking serious, you asshole?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And also, I assume some would say, well, she's a teenager, right? And teenagers aren't always the smartest bunch.
Yeah,
and I would argue, no, here's the thing. I would argue that's true. Because, I mean, look at the fucking Twilight situation. There were literally, like, teenagers, if you remember, we were in high school when Twilight came out, that were like, oh, my God, if Edward Cullen was in my room, I would be so happy. And I was just like, I'd fucking call the police, but okay. Like, so I understand, the idea of someone saying, oh, well, teenagers. But Katie's character was a lot different than your average teenager.
Exactly.
Like, she wasn't Hit Girl,
Mm-hmm.
But it was strange, right? Because, like, yes, someone would say, oh, she's, the popular chick that no one's supposed to, but then you saw the layer behind her, like, oh, no, she works at this shelter with her mom, helping out these people, and then she thought that Dave was, gay, and I think that they all, like, they didn't touch on it in the movie, but in the comic, did they also say that not only was he gay, she also thought he was hurt, like, because he was naked in the street when they found him?
I think so.
Yeah, they mentioned a little bit they didn't, in the movie, it was mostly the dad just like, son, did they? No, Dad, you're hugging me, Dad. That was in the movie, but in the comic, the dad didn't mention it, but I think the student body was a lot more like, yeah, they know that not only are you potentially gay, whatever, but, like, you were there naked, and that was kind of awkward, man. Like, so, like, she felt more sympathetic for him than anything. Right? My point is that she isn't just some person. Like, she's like a stereotype, if you will, like a character type that everyone, like, no, she was different, and it's just weird that, like, they would just kind of, in the second act of the film, right, or at least in the second half of the film, kind of go away from that and just have him be like, and not only just tell her in the beginning, in the middle of the, in the movie, like, hey, I'm KickAss, which, by the way, that made sense, because look at fucking every Batman movie. That was perfect. I was like, you know what? Good for you, Dave. You're just seeing every fucking Batman movie. By the way, I'm Bruce Wayne. I want to sex you.
I'm
like
also
every
not gay.
fucking. What?
I'm also not gay. It's fine. It's totally cool.
Yeah, no. I just totally want to sex you. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Robin, can you stop? I'm Robin. Robin, I'm just trying to talk to this girl, Robin. She's a pretty lady. I'm sure she is, Robin. Just please go play with toys.
Just wait in the Batmobile.
Wait in the fucking Batmobile. Swear to God. Robin would get the shit kicked out of him by Hit Girl. Like early Robin, like early Dick Grayson, get his fucking ass handed to him. Even like Jason Todd. Jason Todd would try to be cool, but Hit Girl would just slap the shit out of him. Right? And then Tim Drake, he wouldn't get hit at all. She'd just be like, oh, snap, he exists? He's like, oh, I exist.
Jesus Christ.
Why does nobody remember me? Damien could hold his own against her.
I think so, for a bit anyway.
I think he could. Yeah, that would be nice. But anyway, but in all seriousness though, right? You feel the same way, and I want to hear your talk about your side of it rather on the whole like Katie and Dave situation.
I mean, honestly, you pretty much summed up everything I was thinking. It was when I first saw the movie, it kind of took me out of it actually for a second. When he's like, "Listen, I'm just gonna go," she goes, "Or you could stay." I was like, "No, that's not the reaction at all." I'm pretty sure the reaction would either be get out or call the cops or grab the spray again.
Yeah. Now, my question to you is, since I see what looks like Owlman on my screen now, basically waving at KickAss, my question is, did you like the change in costume for Big Daddy?
I didn't. I did.
I like the design itself.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I love the design of it. I would prefer if it was just a new character as opposed to being changed into Big Daddy's armor.
And why is that exactly?
The look of Big Daddy in the comic, it's very simple, but I thought it was really well executed. I mean, basically, it is armor. Just I think it was burgundy, right? Burgundy or red, black trench coat, and a ski mask with the eyes and the top cut off. And I thought that was really cool. I thought it looked great. As far as this, it's like, it kind of, again, it's another thing where it kind of took me out of the movie for a second. I'm like, it looks like it's trying really hard to be Batman in a movie where we're like superheroes in real life. And like you said, yeah, he's got a lot of money. But at the same time, I feel like he would have went with his own thing, really.
What's even funnier is when you flip the origins around, right, it would make more sense for the accountant to want to be super cool Batman and the cop to be a lot more low-key.
Exactly.
It's so, and if anyone doesn't know, in the comic books, well, I still think that you can enjoy Big Daddy, right? The wife wasn't dead, right? I'm sure, I don't think we were even supposed to, he did lie, though, in the comics. Like, the wife was supposed to die in the comics, right? Or that's what it was, yes. And what ended up happening was he wasn't, it was supposed to be not that drugs were planted on him, but it was supposed to be some kind of like, you came in and you killed the wife and you tried to kill my family, but then we got out, and then now to avenge her, I raised my daughter to try to kill you. And that was the whole thing. And then by the end of it, it was actually, in a way, kind of funny and startling. And I think that's what I liked a lot about the comic, too. And I understand that some of it can't work when translated to movie, but I like how startling a few things felt, where by the end, you kind of get, you jump out of your seat when it's just like, the mob's like, wait, who the fuck are you? It's like, what do you mean who the fuck? You know who that guy is. And they really didn't. Because literally just, he was an accountant that was just like, look, I'm going to go on this crusade. And also, by the way, the fact that all of the comics that were, all of the money, the quote-unquote, like Hit Girl being like, I have all this money in the suitcase, they were actually first editions of comics, like Amazing Fantasy. And it was so interesting because literally it's like he would be selling those to make money, which, by the way, that can make you some money. No, seriously. Anyone who wants to be a hero, wants to stop being a, mild-mannered accountant and just, like they have a gym membership, since those are cheap, you can just quit your job, and if you have all of these original comics, just start selling those to become a hero. That's kind of how it's done, I would argue. I'm sitting back and I'm like, sorry, Dave, but probably should have sold some of your comics first, asshole. In the comic, he burns them, and it's like, you're a piece of shit, Dave.
But anyway, while we're on the subject of the difference of Big Daddy and the comic, I want to ask you, which death did you think was more impactful?
I actually cried more here in the movie.
In the comic?
In the movie. Which I think is what they were going for, and that's why they didn't want, in this movie, they didn't want that big reveal at the end to be like a twist, because, of course, that would take away from the death. But I will admit, I do like how in the comic it was, and I know some people might say it was rushed, but the point is that there was a fucking sense of urgency.
Yeah.
And that I think I liked more, where here, even though I loved in the movie when it was like, show's over, asshole, and she shoots the camera, and I will admit, I teared up when, and by the way, Nicolas Cage whispering, while pretty much undecipherable, was still actually, like, his best acting in the film. Like, that was fine. It's just him thinking, like, whoever taught him what yelling is. I was just so confused because I was just like, you really are taking me out of this movie right now. And, like, I don't know why. And if they sit there, they're like, we're not happy with the yelling scene. Why the fuck did you – I'm not saying anyone has said this, but if anyone, you know, who hired Nicolas Cage was just like, man, not really happy with him in the yelling thing, but we didn't know how to tell him not to do it. That was like our 5th take or our 20th take or something. You fucking hired Nicolas Cage. You know what the fuck you were getting into. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were – although I have a strange feeling Nicolas Cage campaigned for this role because he's actually a really big comic book fan, or at least anime manga fan behind the scenes. I don't know if you know that. Like, he actually is a huge fan of, like, Godzilla. I know it's not anime manga, but still, like, he's a big fan of, like, you know, Japanese stuff. And I would assume maybe it translates into comic books as well. Did you know that or no?
Yeah, he's a huge Ghost Rider fan. I know that for a fact. I don't know about everything else, though.
Okay. No, because I do wonder if he actually read this, like, this comic and was just like, or rather, when he was pitched the idea, because technically he didn't get to read the comics, since none of them did, arguably, which was so interesting, by the way, because, as I mentioned, this movie came out 6 weeks after the comic came out. So, like, Brad Pitt co-produced this film, but there's no way he could have, quote-unquote, read the comic first. You know what I mean? Like, he just sat there, and he was just like, I like the idea. And it was like, okay, Brad. And then Nicolas Cage, you know, came up and was just like, I love it! And it was like, wow, good for you, Nick. Nicolas Cage loves it. You know what it was too, by the way. The reason why like that the screaming got to me in a weird way. I just started having just because there was fire. I was like, is this just his, like? Does he just think that people on fire do this? Like there was Ghost Rider, then there was this.
Yeah, if you honestly compare that scene where he's getting burned in KickAss to him transforming for the first time in Ghost Rider, literally identical.
Not just that, but, like, there's other scenes in Ghost Rider, too, when he had to yell. And I think also he didn't do it as much in Spirit of Vengeance, I think, which was funny. Like, somehow, again...
Spirit of Vengeance, it was just the weird face contortions.
Yeah. But, my God. But anyway, yeah, my question to you is, how do you feel about the differences between the presentation of D'Amico, not just the name differences. It's D'Amico or DeMarco? D'Amico. The differences with D'Amico, I'm referring to the son, in this movie versus the comic books.
I'm really split with that. The thing I like about it in the movie is that we knew right up front he was against KickAss and their whole crusade. He was basically playing the double agent.
I actually didn't like that.
Really?
Because I like the idea of being surprised. Like,
no,
I knew it was him, obviously. Okay.
Yeah, I think the reason I liked it more is, for me, it added a bit of tension to it. Like, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, so when he got in the car with him for the first time, I'm like, is he going to kill him in the car, drive him somewhere and take him out or something like that? And then when they got to the fire and everything, and it kept going, I'm like, oh, God, when the hell is this going to go down?
I'll give you that. For me, I guess, because I read the comic, I know that it's going to go down in general. And, I mean, anything could have changed. So, yeah, it could have happened in the car. Heck, he wanted to do it at the bowling alley when he realized, oh, shit, it's getting burned down. But I do feel, you know, I don't know, I feel as if because there wasn't, like, in the comics, there was a sense of mystique to both, you know, Big Daddy Hit Girl, because they were introduced a bit later and out of nowhere, and also to, you know, D'Amico, rather, or we'll just use the name Red Mist. Yeah, I feel like there was a bit more mystique to them because later on it was like, oh shit, you know, this is you, this is who you are. And again, not that we needed the change. Like, I understand the idea that, like, oh, you know, Nicolas Cage's character, right, Big Daddy, could just be a cop. That's fine, right? Like, that, you know, or ex-cop rather. That's cool, right? But when it came to Red Mist, I think I would have enjoyed them presenting that it was his son later, which would have been rough, I know, because, you know, you introduce, like, in comics it's so much easier because you're not, like, there's no audiobooks. At least, you know, not if you're reading it. Great. So you don't know anyone's voice. So literally, right? And I mean this as a joke, but also seriously. Anyone at all times could be Joker. You know, and you won't know until, like, in a DC comic, right, you're reading it, and the text will change fucking either color or font type, and you're like, oh, God, no. Right? And you can't do that in movies, and I get that, right? But I do feel like I think we just got a little bit too intimate with every character, in a way.
Okay.
Where, I'm not saying that we shouldn't know them, right? But I think just the way that they showed, you know, certain scenes, I guess, out of comic book order, if you will, like showing the scene where Nicolas Cage shoots her in the chest first. It was a great way to, by the way, as a teenager watching the movie for the first time, I was like, he just shot her. Oh. Like, I will admit, that was fun. But also, I love that they added that scene where fucking D'Amico's dad, right, Red Mist's dad, just kills that KickAss impersonator.
Yes.
I do like that because I do feel like that is something that is in the feel of the comics, where they would, you know, they wouldn't show the face, but they'd show enough of the body to make you think that's him. Have him shoot him in the head, and then of course cut to Katie crying.
Yeah.
And then cut to fucking Dave being A-okay, and you're like, the fuck? That was perfect.
It's great. Yeah, because when I first saw it, like I said, I saw this before reading the comics, and I didn't look into it at all before watching the movie. I'm like, they wouldn't do that, would they?
Well, here's the thing. He would be alive because of the plate in his head, I guess. Also, by the way, I love just the complete arrogance of D'Amico. Just like, oh, the fuck you looking at? You know what? Fuck you. Just shoots him twice. You know what? Fuck you. What? Fuck this kid, too. By the way, I actually have to admit, I enjoy, and I'm sure some people may be against it, but I enjoy the fact that D'Amico, like, you know, the dad, knew karate or knew kung fu or something like that. I was happy because I think that made him into more of a respectable villain.
Definitely.
Now, I will admit, I do like the comics idea of, oh, no, not everyone, you know, can, like, they just have guns. You know what I'm saying? Like not everyone can defend, you know, themselves. And I was like, all right, that, you know, that worked well. But by the time everything kind of kicked into gear, it just made it seem like there was no tension, and the heroes just had it won. Like, the second Hit Girl came in, it just felt like, all right, all of you are dead, that's it. And that's really what happened in the comics, right? Where here, it was kind of like, you know, seeing the fact that, like, he's training and that kick that he did to the fucking impersonator. On mute, I realize how funny it is right now. Like, my television's muted and the TV, you know, the movie's going on in the background, as it usually is when we podcast. And just seeing that fucking kick to the head, I was like, oh, God. It was funnier to me, I think. So it was a nice, you know, flashing to the end for a second. It was a nice fight, and even having Red Mist fight KickAss, I think, was a lot better than him just kind of being forgotten about.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So you enjoyed getting to know, like you said, you enjoyed getting to know Red Mist more and seeing that he was, you know, like, oh, he was in on the, like, we knew about the plan from the beginning. You like that? Okay. And I can see why, right? You bringing up the tension. I guess for me,
I do have one question about it for you, though.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
When it came to the point where he figured out, you know, KickAss isn't the one doing this to your stash, Dad, you can leave him out of this. How did you feel about that? That
it's
he was willing to spare
because, it's interesting. I think it really ties into the earlier part of the movie when they did introduce him, because he really just wants friends. Which, again, takes away from the comic book version, but it does make sense. But the thing is, of course, is that, you know, and we're not going to spoil anything, but jumping to KickAss 2, right? Jumping to KickAss 2, it really does show you, like, the difference between this character and what he wouldn't do in the movie version and what he would do in the comic book version. It definitely shows that break in that character. Where, frankly, if in the second movie this version of the character did what he did in the comics, it would be fucking weird. It would have such a huge disconnect between what the character was in this movie compared to, you know, in the comics. So in other words, a scene that happened, right, again, we're not going to get into detail, in both the comics and in the movie for KickAss 2, it makes more sense, I think, as a progression of this specific character doing what he did in the movie versus the character in the comics.
Yeah.
Also, my question to you is, did you notice how, at least this is my opinion, they changed the ethnicities of certain characters.
I didn't, actually.
Like, to me, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here. I thought that Red Mist was Hispanic. At least in the comic. He looked very much like he looked like he could be Dominican.
Mhm.
In my opinion, or a darker Puerto Rican. I mean, I'm a lighter Puerto Rican, right? He looked like he could be Dominican, and then and he had this like really scruffy beard and everything, and I was just like, oh, like, and he's smoking a joint and everything. But here, they really wanted to go for more like a hey man, I'm super cool, like the character from Grandma's Boy, if you've seen that movie. Yeah, I felt like they were trying to go for that. And if anyone hasn't seen Grandma's Boy, in my opinion, it's funny. It's stupid, but it's funny. And there's a very like nerdy kind of antisocial character in there that I really feel like is very much like this version of Red Mist. But in the comic, not that he was cool, because he wasn't cool, but when he put on the Red Mist outfit, it felt like he was more cool and not like a bad scene kid.
Mhm.
Sorry, I just looked at him on the TV with the wig, and I'm like I said, bad scene kid.
Mhm.
By the way, Red Mist, just realizing it now, really looks like a very effeminate Nightwing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask you about that costume change as well.
Yeah. Or I'll say this much. He looks like Tim Drake in terms of the outfit. Yeah, very much Tim Drake Robin. Red Robin, there we go. How did you feel about the way the Atomic Comics was set up? Because, like, they really changed that up. I would love a comic book story like that, by the way, in real life.
There is one.
Well, I mean, like, in our area.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Sorry. From where I know that Atomic Comics actually exists, or at least it's based off of a place that existed.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about, like, in our area, it's just like, we have some amazing comic book stores, right? But they're very much like, oh, we're so happy that you're here. Is there, like, food or anything? No. Why the fuck would there be? Go to, and you're like, yeah, that's true. But the fact that they were just like, we have food and drinks here, I'm like, that's wrong. That's not right. That was like that's not what this is all about. By the way, so funny story. Apparently, when this there was a preview of this movie that came out, and I believe the preview was the scene where Hit Girl first kills people.
Yes.
Right? So, yeah. So she says the C word and everything, right? And it's just so funny to me because apparently everyone was really upset by that. Did you hear about this?
Yeah.
But you know what they were upset about. If anyone doesn't know, this whole scene, right? She curses, she kills them all violently. They were upset, depending on who you talk to. The cursing?
Yeah.
And apparently she was sexualized. And I'm like, no. I'm like, she's fucking 11.
I've never heard that last part. That is fantastic.
Yeah, someone thought that she was sexualized, and people were basically like, why do you think she was sexualized? Because it's not like someone is trying to argue about the scene where she was in a schoolgirl outfit. Because, like, I would still disagree because the director, Matthew Vaughn, tried, like, when he went to different studios, because, by the way, this was pretty much self-funded, this film, right? When he went to different studios, they were trying to say, what if she's a teenager? And he was like, no, because then she will be sexualized. That's why she has to be a child, because she won't be sexualized, right? But I can understand someone trying to say, but schoolgirl outfit, some people try to sexualize that, right? But this was when she was in her Hit Girl outfit.
Yeah.
There's fucking nothing that could be even remotely considered sexual about that. So yeah, a reviewer said that, and he got criticism. They were like, "Why do you think it was sexual?" because you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it was like, why do you? It's like fucking, it's fucking like in schools when people try to say like, oh, that girl was dressing inappropriately and she was very tantalizing, and it's like, you're a male teacher. Why do you think that she was?
Basically.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's ask you why you think she was being tempting. I'm not saying she was tempting. I'm just saying that she could be perceived. Right? Like, it's just, let's talk about this for a second. This is getting a little fucking weird. But yes. So anyway, yeah, I thought that would be interesting to bring up because it's like, yeah, the cursing, right? She said the C word. That's just so. And even Matthew Vaughn, the director, was just like, she killed a lot of people. Could we kind of be angry about that? Like, he wanted to shift the anger. Just, can we shift the anger to the fact that this is grotesque, gratuitous violence? Could we just do that, please? Not the vulgar language that she used.
Exactly.
How fucked are we as America? You know what I mean? Seriously, as America, how fucked are we? Just eat shit and die, assholes, and fucking slices their heads off. And just, my word, how dare she use such language?
There's a little blood on your blouse, but just don't talk like that, okay?
I was going to say, as they went to the 4D showing where the blood gets splattered in the front row, just, my word, how dare she use such language? There was no 4D showing. But by God, if there was. Oh my God. So, you know what's interesting, by the way? So I thinking of the comic book violence versus the movie, I will admit, yes, some of what Hit Girl did was quote-unquote toned down, but I would argue that it was toned down to actually make it more real.
I think so, yeah.
And in a way, I like that. And I say that because, you know, I will admit, earlier I said, oh, the violence wasn't toned down. Okay, to be fair, it was, right? But it was done, like, toned down in a way where, like, look at the Walking Dead comics versus the Walking Dead television show, where, like, yes, you still have Michonne, like, slicing off heads and whatever, but there's some stuff that she does in the comics that I'm like, yeah, that blade wouldn't work if you were trying to apply real-life physics to it. But to be fair, the Walking Dead usually tries not to because it's, you know, zombies exist and shit, right? So they're like, she can still slice through some, you know, necks, like, as if the sword wouldn't even, you know, rust or anything. But when it comes to this film and this, you know, comic book, it really is trying to be nitty-gritty, real. At least in my opinion, it's trying to be, right? So having her cut heads the way she did in the comic was actually a bit more unrealistic, arguably, than in the movie. And I think that was nice, you know, where in the movie they kind of brought it back down to Earth, and then they thought, fuck Earth, let's give them jetpacks. And then that was kind of where I went, nah. Oh, another thing too, by the way, I think I mentioned this on air, but I'm not too sure if I mentioned it on air or before the show began to you. The idea that not just, because I know you and I have been talking about the idea that, oh, you know, Katie getting with Dave in a way is going against what the comic originally was meant to be about, you know, more realism in every aspect of life. Even if it's a little bit more cynical, it's still a bit more real in my opinion. But also having, I think, KickAss's character and also the motivations of you know, the general story being, oh, and this guy's becoming more of a hero as the movie goes on. The fact that when they had the fire at the bowling alley, you know, Dave, KickAss, was just sitting there going, oh, no, you think we should maybe call somebody? But no, at this point in the story, he's very much, like, he's the one going in. Red Mist, now I will admit, yes, it's his family's bowling alley, so of course Red Mist would want to go in. And that story change makes sense, of course. But the fact that KickAss, like, they still sat there and said, no, one of the two of them has to be against it, and made it the main character, that does not make you like him more in a movie that is apparently trying to make him likable compared to the comic. Where in the comic, you don't want to like him, in my opinion, and it's okay because you start to as it goes on because you're like, you know what, look, he's the hero, and he, you know, and even though he fucked up at the end because he was a fucking idiot, he fucked up the entire, in a sense. No, because he didn't fucking sit there and think, oh, you know, let me tell her that I'm not gay, or later on it was just like, let me, you know, tell her now and think that it'll just get the girl. And I was like, no, that was a nice dose of reality, right? Yeah, but here I think it was just like, in a way, in trying to make him more likable, in my opinion, they made him less likable by, like, giving him the girl despite what he did, not having him be the hero when he needed to be with that fire. And I guess you could say, oh, well, he became the hero at the end of the film, not in the, you know, not in the middle, at the end when he came to save Hit Girl. I think anyone would feel confident with a jetpack, though.
I think so.
Like what I'm saying. Like, it's not like in the fire, like the thing with the fire. Though I love, again, the fact that it's like he gave himself, but of course he was repaid with, it was a fucking cat. Her baby was a cat. Anyone doesn't know, that's the cat scene. Which, I will admit, it was nice, I think, in the movie that he wanted to go help this cat randomly. Like, that was a nice moment, even though he still fucking couldn't. But he wanted to help the cat. Although still, he was just like, even though he wanted to help it, he came out with, fuck you, cat.
I love that. Fuck you, Mr. Bitey.
Yeah, that's what it was, Mr. Bitey. Fuck you, Mr. Bitey, and then falls. And by the way, he's just fine. I know, like, his nerve endings are fucked, but he's just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, how'd you feel about him not ditching the suit in the movie? Like, did you feel like that was a bit more, I guess, realistic, or did you like that he ditched the suit in the comics?
I actually felt it was a bit more realistic that he didn't ditch it.
Same. I liked it, though, because it showed that he wasn't a complete idiot and he had room for growth in the comics. But I liked that it was more realistic, like he's not going to ditch it. However, I didn't like that the entire scene happened in broad daylight. I know that he was a quick change and everything, and I do like that it related to the muggers from earlier in the movie. Because I do like that how certain things connected, like how Katie connected with the drug dealer. But I like how these things connected in the film. But at the same time, it also, and I said this sadly on shows you haven't been on. You know, I've done some shows, Star Wars Wednesday shows with Tristan, right? But I think you can still understand where I'm going for here. How in Star Wars Episode 1, Lucas really made everything so fucking small, an entire universe so small, by having everyone knowing each other in some way or another through extended, like, whatever you want to call it, in the same fucking quadrant. But you know what I mean, where it's just like, oh no, we've crash landed here. Thank goodness everyone from the main cast is right here. Whoa, wait a minute, Anakin, you made C-3PO? Oh shit, nobody ever fucking asked. So, you know, so the way I describe it is he made a really large universe small. So what I'll say about the movie is I do like that they connected things like that, but in a way it also made the universe small because it kind of took away from KickAss going online to check his email and be like, oh, snap, this person needs my help. You know, or, again, the fact that he actually went to save, you know, a burning building. So, like, save what he thought was a small child, a baby, in a burning building. Versus, I don't know if I want to go in that bowling alley, man. Because in the building, by the way, it was even more courageous because KickAss was like, yeah, we have to go up like 3 floors or something, 3 flights, you know, just to get to there. Where in the bowling alley, it's just like it's one fucking level. Also, another thing I want to mention is that, what is it? So, okay, do you know where this was filmed?
No, do you?
Not New York. I'll say that fucking much. It was actually filmed. It was filmed in Canada, I believe. But
really?
It was just so, yes, it was just so disheartening, I guess, because I forgot this was supposed to take place in New York. So when they're just like, yeah, we're in New York, I'm like, no, you're fucking not. None of this looks like New York. Mine is like what was supposed to be a Times Square thing. It was like, okay, that sort of looks like New York. But the rest of it was not supposed to, like, I was all supposed to be New York. But the rest of it did not. Like, literally they're in the city 1 minute, and then they're at that bowling alley. And I'm like, you literally look like you just went from Times Square to Long Island in 5 seconds. But, yeah, let me see exactly where they were filming, because I want to make sure I'm correct. Yes, Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And then the Dip and Sip Donuts on Kingston Road in Toronto. The school was, let's see, the school was the Sir Winston Churchill Secondary School. And then, various locations in the UK, by the way. So it wasn't just Canada. Yeah, but it was so interesting, in my opinion. Like, it was just like, oh, did they film, you know, in New York at any point? No? Yeah, that sounds about right. Because honestly, I forgot that it was supposed to take place in Manhattan. Or at least in the New York area. Yeah. Reading the comic, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. But I honestly thought they filmed in L.A. At least, like, the first, like, when he was getting mugged and everything, I thought they were in L.A.
I thought the same, actually.
Yeah, because it did not have any kind of New York feel.
Basically, yeah.
No, which sucks, because, like, they really want to go for that New York vibe, or at least say, like, hey, no, don't, please remember, we're in New York. It's like, I'm sorry. As a resident New Yorker, I am very sorry, I must tell you. You're not in New York. None of you are. Dave, you got hit really hard in the head. You're not. You know,
these people you see around you, they're not your real friends, Dave.
No. How do you feel about his dad being a lot more, I guess I'll say touchy-feely, and a lot less, like, we don't really get much about his dad and, like, his life with his dad. Do you feel like that was a big, like, that really took away from the story at all?
It didn't. I didn't feel like it took away. I think it would have definitely been nice to have in there, but I didn't feel it was too necessary to the main story.
Okay. I think it was an interesting, I guess, way to compare Hit Girl and KickAss in the comics, because here you have him with his, with the dad, like his mom died, single father, and heck, here in the movie it was actually more relevant because the mom actually was dead, for real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
we don't really have much of that, I guess, to really compare, and I guess it was a little sad because in the comics, it's like, man, if Kick-Ass's life was a little bit different, if his dad was a little bit different, even though his dad was still very, like, more manly man, stern, whatever you want to call it, traditional manly kind of, values, I guess, whatever. He kind of had that look going for him. Also, I think he worked construction, I believe. But in the, and maybe he did in the movie too, but we don't really know much about him in the movie, really. He's just hugging Dave after he's just like, I'm so sorry, son. Right? And then he's also very much, like in the comics where, his mom dies. By the way, his mom died a lot more brutally, in my opinion, in the movie.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Though they went right back to comic book fun, which I think was nice, when he was just like, I will avenge you. I was like, oh, shit. They did this shot for shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, one question I do really want to ask you.
Please.
How did you feel about the narration of the movie?
The what?
Narration. Like Dave narrating the whole thing.
I liked it, and frankly, I'm happy. It's interesting that there wasn't more of it. I mean, I know that's just how movies are. They're more visual, not, explanatory, I guess, if you will. But, I mean, comic books themselves always have, internal narration. And frankly, I think a lot of scenes, a bit like how when you and I did, it was DC, The New Frontier, right? In the comic there was narration that in a way really explained certain scenes, where in the animated adaptation, I was going to say live action, I was like, nope, that's wrong. The animated adaptation, there were no, there was no narration, and that really kind of, screwed certain scenes over. So I think even the opening scene, that was a lot more fun. And it was funny in this movie. I'll admit, it was hilarious. It was a lot, I think, more interesting in the the comic books, because the guy was actually like, no, I can really fly. Wait, shit, it's not working. Where really in the in the movie, it felt like the dude in the beginning wanted to just do a suicide dive. Right? Because if you have no context about the wings not working,
pretty much,
the guy was just jumping to his doom. He didn't even try to pivot. It was just like, wow.
I do like in the comics though that they went back to him at the end of the movie, at the end of the comic, rather.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I do like that. They went back to Red Mist. I'll say that much. And by the way, what's interesting too about Dave's house, they have an actual house in the movie. Like in the comics, don't they just have an apartment?
I thought it was a house. Let me check right now.
Okay, thank you. Because in the, no, I'm sorry. I think it was a house. You can still check, but I think it was a house.
Yeah.
But it had much smaller feel to it.
Oh, definitely.
Where here, I guess we're here because again, visual medium. And comics are too, but like things are a bit bigger on the big screen. Not even a stupid Nick Cage pun. I'm just being serious. But yeah, no, like his home looks a lot bigger than it did in the comic books, which seems a lot more, like just, I guess, small in scale, personally. Also, just even looking at where he lives in the, in the movie, I guess they were going for Queens, but it really felt like it was just not Queens.
Yeah, looking in the comics, it looked like it was just a full-on house.
Okay, but when you get the inside, it just looks so much smaller.
Yeah, because they really only show like one or two rooms, and it does give that apartment feel to it.
Yes. Also, I was hoping that, what's it called? I was hoping that, not that they would show his dad, I guess, trying to get out there again, because I think that was really nice for the dad, like, to try and get out there. Not like I want to see him with that woman at the end, but, like, I even sat there. I was like, Millar, Jesus! But, yeah, but I really did enjoy, I guess, just, like, you know, the dad I taking a different route than, you know, Big Daddy was. Yes. Although I will admit, it was nice having, even though, like, the mom did die, it was nice having Hit Girl able to go with Marcus, the new character. The brand new character that, you know, I'm sure many people were like, who the fuck is Marcus? Nothing wrong with this guy, but who the fuck is he? But yeah, so, oh, by the way, interesting that the movie even got the ability to use MySpace.
Yeah, I
want to mention. Yeah, because the video game did not use MySpace, it used FaceSpace because they were nervous about, you know, copyright this, copyright that. But it's just, and understandably so, but it is so interesting to me that the movie was able to use MySpace. I was like, oh. And also, like you mentioned way earlier in the podcast, yes, they actually used MySpace back then. This was 2010. You know? Things have changed. Things have changed a lot. Yeah. But yeah, so overall, you like the movie a bit more than I do. Because, you know, we're kind of getting closer to the end.
Yeah, I love... This is actually one of my favorite movies, like, that I've seen ever. I love it.
Oh, not just as an adaptation.
No, just on the whole, it's easily in my top 10 favorite movies. I don't know how to describe it. Something about this movie, I just love it.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say that simply because of the, and I know it's sad to say like only one or two things will do it, right? When it's like, oh, it's the Katie, you know, but I think it's because of the fact that it was trying so hard to be different, and it did it in many ways, but just in certain ways they just fell into the trap that they had a comic book source not to, you know, but they just did, and my God, Nicolas Cage is Batman. So he's just applying makeup in the background, and then he just puts a mask on, and I'm like, you're fucking Batman.
I'm glad you actually brought up the Adam West thing earlier, because I'm looking on Wikipedia, and he actually did base the performance off Adam West after seeing the costume.
That makes me very happy. Good. Because it just, he had to. Like, you see this guy speak, and I'm just like, and by the way, I loved Adam West Batman. I've seen all 3 seasons of 1966 Batman. Even the third season, for many of you that have seen it, it's like even the third one. We ran out of budget third season. Yeah, it was just so interesting seeing him speak that way, because again, it's not like he just was not speaking that way when he's out of the suit and everything, and then he just gets the suit and he's like, "Why, hello, it is nice to see both of you. Why don't you come in?" And I'm just like, good fucking God. But yeah, it's not in my top 10, no. But I definitely think that I will say I fucking loved, like, some of the differences. I loved that when they were in Big Daddy and Hit Girl's base, in their home base, literally it was just, oh, nice to see you, shoots Hit Girl immediately.
Yeah.
I do, because even he knows. He's like, even though he shouldn't know, it's kind of like, you're the one that's the big deal. Because, like, in my opinion, I mean, I know Big Daddy means something, but my God, you know what I mean? Like, the fact that you shoot Hit Girl first, I was like, that was a smart decision. She would have ninja starred the fuck out of you immediately. But yeah. Oh, but by the way, like we were saying about KickAss and and Red Mist. Yeah, it does make sense for this version of Red Mist to really want to stay KickAss, because he really did do nothing wrong. He knows that. He's like, actually, this guy is not a killer whatsoever. Right? How do you feel about the fact that they did not electrocute the downstairs area?
I'm really
Did you like
glad.
that?
I'm so happy. I was like, oh God, they're not going to do it, are they? And I was like, thank God. That's why I brought up the whole narration, because I love when he narrates. He goes, and if you're assuming that I'm going to survive because I'm narrating this, just suspend your disbelief, man.
Haven't you ever seen these movies? And I was like, God damn it, that's true. Oh, man. Overall, look, the end got better, but then, of course, again, they went for jetpacks. And it's funny. It's only like they went just for the first jetpack. Had they only done jetpacks once with the gun, that would have been like, okay. But then he jetpacked her out of the building.
Yeah.
And I was like, guys, can we not? This is just dumb.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I don't know, like, it was just, I don't know, like, for me, that, and of course, again, you know, having it be more based on romance, it's just, that really killed it for me. Oh,
yeah.
One thing I have to say that I love, though, I love that they used Craig Ferguson.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of Craig Ferguson's old show. And Ferguson by extension. You know, I'm a big fan of what he did. And seeing him in the movie, if many of you didn't read the comic, in the comic, he references, he being Dave, says, oh, man, I'll get to be on, like, Letterman, and, you know, or Letterman will mention me, and so will Ferguson. So the fact that they actually got Ferguson for the movie, and, you know, so you've seen Ferguson's show. Then you can agree with this. It was one of his monologues. It's not as if, like, someone wrote something, like, that he was, like that he couldn't say. Literally, it sounds like he and his writers just got together and wrote a kick-ass monologue.
Basically.
Yeah, because if any of you don't know about, you know, Ferguson's old show, he's been off the air for a few years now, just go back and check it out and see it right next to, you know, his clip in the movie. And it was really just him, like, from his show. And I sat there, I was like, this is hilarious, because it's fucking Craig Ferguson.
Yeah.
So I was really happy about that, I think. Just that cameo was really nice. And yeah, you know, I didn't hate it. Like, I know, again, before the show started, Anthony's sitting here like, man, he really hates this. No, I don't. You know? Because I was really, like, rambling to you. I really don't hate it. It's just, it's not my favorite thing ever, at least compared to the comic book. I will say, because here's the thing, too, right? Even if it's like, well, Matt, detach from the comic book for 5 seconds. Why didn't you like it? Jetpacks and the girlfriend. Because even detaching it from the comic books, the movie was trying to set a tone of, you know, like, oh, hey, these are some really, you know, like, he's pretending to be gay. And even his friends, right, who, you know, try to sit there and be like, oh, man, you know, they're virgins. They don't know how girls work. But their advice was fucking spot on. Hey, you really shouldn't be doing this to her, dude. Eventually, you know, if you keep this going, you're not going to be able to get with her. And that was fucking accurate.
Yeah.
You know? But no, he got with her. And then, you know, by the end, it's just like, oh, yeah, we're going for a more... I mean, look, just look at the beginning of the movie. Why does anybody do this? You know? Like, why wouldn't... Like, Bruce Wayne does it, yeah, but, you know, he has things that doesn't exist. And jetpacks exist, arguably, yeah, but still, you know, to that, I don't know, it just felt like the way that it was used and everything, it just... It was a lot of money, though. It was like $30,000. Right? So it was a lot of money. But it just didn't really sit well with me. Oh, by the way, not just Craig Ferguson, I want to add. A lot of news reporters.
Yeah.
Mostly on CBS, by the way. Not sure what deal they got going on there. Because, again, CBS did not fund this movie. This movie was self-funded. Or I would assume, anyway. If they dumped some money in, maybe they were just like, put some of our guys. But, yeah, no, a lot of CBS people. But anyway.
Now, real quick before we go, one scene I want to bring up real quick. The scene where KickAss first trends, like when he first stops the 3 guys beating up the guy. What was your thoughts on that scene?
I love that scene so much.
Yeah. Okay.
I really did. No, yeah. Again, I don't want to, because the fight scenes actually only, again, you know, the only 2 fight scenes that were like, it's funny. Those 2 fight scenes that I've been saying all along. The girlfriend scene. Okay, no, not that. That's not a fight scene. The jetpack and then a hit girl literally dodging bullets. Not in the warehouse, because that wasn't dodging bullets. That was just dodging everything, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, and keeping to the shadows. I'm referring to literally in the hallway. She's dodging bullets. And I'm like, guys, they're not superheroes. They're just heroes, guys. But yeah, I really did love that scene because that scene was really trying to start him off on this path to being a hero. But again, you know, the movie itself just really, I guess, enjoyed, you know, taking away from that, in my opinion. That's just me anyway. Like, it took away from, you know, like the whole, the fire, and then, you know, the way he tricked her and it worked, and him not learning a lesson from it. And I know it's like kind of like, well, Matt, it's not a movie for anyone to learn lessons from. It's, it's not one of those kind of movies. But I don't know. I feel like in a way, the kind of cynicism that was in the comic helped you learn a lesson. Like, hey, don't do that shit. That shit's not going to fucking work. This isn't some fucking rom-com where, they try to, pretend like shit like that actually works, Or the whole idea of, like, my penis will solve all of your problems. Right? Like, that's not true. Like, no, that's like the rom-com thing, you know what I mean? Like, just like, oh my God, I'm so stressed and work is so crazy and I just, everything is, on my plate right now, and it's like, shh, my penis will solve all of your problems. By the end of the movie, she learns that, wow, that's all she needed was his penis.
Mm-hmm.
The movie. So, this fall, coming this fall, that's all she needed was his penis. I'm not gonna write you a love. Anyway, like, can you hear that song playing? Because I can. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, how'd you feel about Evan Peters?
Oh, I forgot about that. The other Quicksilver. Yeah.
Yes. Well, what I love the most, what's funny is I don't know him as Quicksilver because I haven't kept up with the X-Men. I know him from American Horror Story.
Right.
So, like, I see him and I'm just like, where's he from? And also I hear, da, 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 da. I'm like, oh God, no. So that's where I know him from.
Mm-hmm.
And, I liked him in this movie. I think it was so funny that he grows up to be the most attractive out of all three, but he's the one that doesn't have the girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were going for that or not, but it was just funny to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sitting there and I'm just like, you're the one right now that, like, every girl wants out of the three. Sorry, other two. But, and it's just really funny to me that, like, he's the one that didn't have the girlfriend. Just like, fuck it, I'm just going to read KickAss comics. Oh, heck, I love them even during the when they're watching the feed, and it's just like, on, like, this KickAss guy is getting, hurt or whatever, and he's just like, hey, like, pointing to the girl on his shoulder, and he's like, yeah.
I fucking love that, yeah.
Because, again, it was fun, yes, in the face of, I guess, doom, not their doom, honestly, but still it was fun. But in my opinion, it was a lot, like, different than the comics, right? I really do feel like in the comics and he had three friends, not just two, I think, right? He had three? Yeah. His three friends were just, I thought he had three, or at least one of them that showed up at least every once in a while. But they were assholes. Like, they were jerks, in my opinion. Like, they didn't want to help him, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he was more of a jerk, too, in the comics, at least in the beginning.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Also, they changed his hair, too, by the way, which was interesting. I wonder if they wanted to make him look nerdier by giving him the curls instead of, like, the blonde hair.
It would not surprise me at all if they did.
Yeah, because I saw him in the comics with the blonde hair, and I'm like, why are you not popular? You're small. You might be awkward, but you don't look like, like a beast or, you don't look like a horrifying, disgusting. And not that the main actor for this movie did at all. It's funny. Just, hey! Like, no, you don't look disgusting. But, like, you did look like more of a nerd in a way. Though, because it's Hollywood and because everyone has makeup, in the weirdest way, it was like they all looked nerdier, but also still more, I guess, socially attractive than their comic book counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a weird mix. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it was a weird mix between, like, you look more nerdy, but because it's Hollywood, your faces are so fucking clear, and you're still kind of bulky.
Yeah.
Right? Where in the comics, like, KickAss, at least in my opinion, looks really fucking lanky.
Mm-hmm.
Where here, I think because, they had to have him work out a certain way, the actor, he actually looks a bit more bulky up top.
Definitely, yeah.
Where in the comics, he's just some skinny. Basically, it looks like, I guess, Peter Parker to, I can't think of one because every hero is like very fucking bulky, but basically Peter Parker in the comics to not Peter Parker, a little bit heavier than Peter Parker.
All right.
I guess. It's hard to explain, right? Because in my head it's like, not Batman because he's fucking huge. Superman's huge. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of one that is in the middle. Maybe Wolverine? Arguably?
I mean, it depends on who draws him, really.
I was going to say, yeah, depending on who draws Wolverine, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anywho, it was. How do you feel about the end, by the way? Like, we talked about the end in terms of the jetpack and the bazooka. I like the bazooka, I'll admit. The bazooka scene, because I love the bazooka because it was like, look, Big Daddy had a bazooka. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that made sense to me. I was like, he had a bazooka. I feel like it would have exploded in the office, though. But other than that, it was like, hey, Big Daddy had a bazooka. But no, how'd you feel about the way that Hit Girl and Dave, I don't say Dave because the mask is off at this point, didn't really connect, I guess, where it's like, oh, I owe you one. It's like, yeah, well, if you weren't around, my dad would have died. Like, how'd you feel about that?
I understood it more than anything, I guess.
I understood it too, but it felt very standoffish for what it seemed like they wanted to go for, this kind of goofy, I guess, comedy by the end of it.
Yeah.
So it was a little awkward to me, because, by the end of it, I felt like they were trying to go for this goofy comedy, and then fucking jetpacks and everything. And then they just try to bring it all back to Earth, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, I can see that.
After the kung fu and the jetpack? And the bazooka?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you also, like me, did like the fights between. Well, I know we mentioned the fight between Hit Girl and between D'Amico. But how do you feel about Red Mist and KickAss actually squaring off?
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, we got a little bit of that in the book, but not as much as we did in the movie. Not
really in the book. In my opinion, it felt like he just fucked off. It's kind of just like, oh no, I guess he's gone. We don't care anymore. It was like, you guys really should care,
No, KickAss knocked him out in the comics.
Sorry, that is. Well, but I'm saying he knocked him out, but they didn't.
Oh, he just left him.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Not that KickAss would kill, but they kind of just left him there, as if knocking your guy out means that he's dead.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And that I think was kind of an issue to me anyway.
Though arguably that was in the movie too.
What?
I mean, that was arguably in the movie. They did knock each other out. KickAss got up first,
true.
then Red Mist, but he never really saw what Red Mist did. He just kind of assumed Red Mist.
Point.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good point. I just feel like in the movie, because it was more of a fight, they actually had it felt like he was a true villain in the movie.
Yeah.
Where in the comics, right? In the comics, I'm cool with the reveal being late. If once there's the reveal, you stick to it, and then he's the big evil bad guy. Where here, it felt like they tried to make them the big central bad guys of the movie, and actually, in a way, stuck with it. Again, I didn't like how they were introduced so early, but at least they stuck with it, and they had them had these big battles at the end and made it feel legitimate.
Yeah.
Also, I just love Hit Girl pulling the pistol out on them. I lost my mommy and daddy.
I love that so much.
Oh yeah, it was one of my favorite parts of the film. Just that, and I think just in the beginning when Nicolas Cage just, oh don't worry, honey, it'll be like getting punched in the chest. I hate getting punched in the chest.
For me, it was actually when Hit Girl and Big Daddy were in the bowling alley. He goes, so what do you want for your birthday, sweetie? He goes, I'd like a puppy so I can cuddle with it. And his face is just, it's so freaked out. I was like, oh, this is amazing. She's like, I'm just fucking with you, Daddy. I want a butterfly knife.
That actually is my favorite part of the film because it was sort of in the comics, sort of. Even the other scene when she was answering all the questions, it was sort of in the comic as well. It's a little bit shifted. But I do like that they lifted a lot. And they just, placed them in different areas. But, that was my favorite part. Because as a teenager, not knowing who Chloe Grace Moretz was, just sitting there, I think I was, let me think. Right now she's 19, and I'm 23. So that means if she was 13 when the movie came out. She was 11 when they were filming, but this movie came out in 2010. She was 13, that means I was 17, right? So we didn't see this movie in theaters, right? We saw KickAss 2.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, just seeing this movie in theaters, I think I was even with my family, like my dad, and it was just so funny because you were just like, what the fuck? Because you're just sitting there, and she's just like, I want this, and I want a pony, and I want a, and the dad's like, oh my goodness, what's going on. And she's just, you know, Nicolas Cage is just, like, giving that face that he puts on all the time. No, that was acting. That actually was. And he just gives this face. And all of a sudden she's just like, "Who's fucking with you, Daddy?" Yeah. Though what's interesting is how I think people reacted, you know, again, to some of the swearing, and how she went on damage control in interviews after, where she was just like, "I would never say these things when I'm not this character."
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it was so interesting, I think, because she literally said, "I couldn't even call the movie by its name in my home. I would either say the movie or kick butt."
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so funny in a way, because, like, you know, people forget, like, these are actors. They are acting.
Yeah.
You know? Like, they aren't really these people in real life. You know? Like, I wouldn't assume that if I met Chloe Grace Moretz, she would be able to fight me. I'm sure she can. Just, it's me. Like, I'm sure she can kick my ass. But I don't expect her to do it in pure hit girl style. I do not expect any of, like, she was in Carrie. Do not expect her to have mental powers.
Basically, yeah.
She may. I don't know her. But I'm going to safely assume, I know how it is to assume, ass out of you and me, but I'm going to safely assume that was acting. You know, and that's what that was. Yeah. So, you know, we're kind of at the end of this. Anything you want to mention before we wrap everything up completely?
I mean, I think we covered everything. All I would really say is you should definitely check out this movie if you have the chance. It's such a great film. It's really fun. Obviously not if you're too young, of course.
And I would, no, of course, you know, over 18 or at least teenager with your parents' approval, definitely check out this film. And I would argue this is one of those movies you need to watch first and then read the comic after. Because, because there are certain movies, I think you can maybe read the book and then read the movie. Read the book and then watch the movie and get an appreciation overall. But I do think this is one of those movies that if you read the comic first, because I didn't do it. I watched the movie. I loved the movie. But then recently, I reread the comic, and then I watched the movie again. And I haven't watched the movie in a very long time. And in a way, I guess that's why maybe my expectations are a little bit lowered, right? Or rather, I'm disappointed, if you will. But I would say watch the movie first because it's not a bad movie. It's just that because of how close they are to each other, you're going to start comparing the comic to the movie a bit too much. Yeah, so definitely watch the movie first. I hope you enjoy it. By the way, we've done the whole podcast, so I'm really hoping you've watched the movie. But if you haven't, well, you know, I'll say this much. If you haven't read the comic book, do. It's amazing. Yes. Also, I love that they basically kept Red Mist's like monologue at the end.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. That was a great way to end everything.
Yeah.
Sadly, there was no after credit scene. There was just credits.
This wasn't a Marvel film, people.
Even though technically, right? Technically, just in the same way that at this point DC owns Watchmen. This was a Marvel This was a Marvel comic.
Yeah, it was their subdivision icon.
Yes, thank you. That's what it was. It's just so weird me reading the comic and seeing Marvel, and I'm like, that's not right. That's not right. But then later on in the comic, seeing it in the briefcase, there's, you know, Amazing Fantasy and everything. I'm like, that makes sense. Because I know that one is related to the other. I'm like, that's right. Okay. But, just there were no after credit scenes. So the one guy from our last podcast that we told about all the after credit scenes who wasn't staying for any of them literally is like, I just sat here for 10 minutes. There was no after credit scene. You told me this movie was made by Marvel. If it was made by Marvel, why was he Batman?
I don't understand life anymore.
Which one's Spider-Man? With that, I'm done. I don't care about this guy anymore. This fictional. I don't care about this. I would want him to, but I don't care about this fictional man anymore. He doesn't exist. But so what I do think I enjoyed is that a lot of people were like, while there was some, controversy surrounding this film, there were people who actually, like critics that actually enjoyed this movie, which I think was nice, minus some stuff in the end that you and I have been talking about, but they still really liked the movie. They were like, oh, wow, this is, because, it became, like, according to, the internet, it was a cult following, but still, like, I do feel like if, critics are sitting there loving your movie, like, you're doing something right.
Basically, yeah.
Like, if critics and fans are shitting on your movie, right, like, you must not be making Batman v Superman, your movie right. You must not be doing right.
Jesus Christ.
Fire. I'm sorry,
it's
everyone.
Fine. It's okay.
I just want to see the director's cut so I can shit on it more. I'm kidding. I actually want to see the director's cut of Batman v Superman because I think that there's some potential promise in a 5-hour cut. We would love to see what they do with Legolas. Anyway, so I think we should end here. So I just want to say, I think it's the time. Thank you all for listening in, as always. I just want to mention that, you can find us on many different social media platforms. You can find us on our website, thoseguysonthe.radio.tumblr.com, our Facebook, which is /thoseguysonthe.radio, our Twitter, which is @thoseguysradio, and our Instagram, which is /thoseguysonthe.radio. Also, remember that we have our Patreon up, which is TG Productions. So definitely go on TG Productions, which is our Patreon page, and you can donate to us to get any, a lot of different rewards on a lot of different tiers. One of them that you can get is you can actually suggest a podcast for us to do based on a movie, comic book, video game, pretty much anything, honestly. We'll talk about what exactly, like what show or what movie or things like that. We'll try to iron out the details. But really, you can suggest a show for us to podcast on. You can suggest something for us to Let's Play. We also do Let's Plays. I mean, Anthony and I have Let's Played a few things already, some released, some not released yet, actually, because we have a few different seasons of those guys play out. You and I have currently done Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects, which is on our YouTube channel, Those Guys Play. You can suggest a game for us to play, right? Or you can actually become a sponsor on our podcast, our Let's Plays, or for our TG News show, which is on our YouTube channel, TG Productions, which we will talk about a little bit later. And also, by the way, the biggest thing I would argue, while I love our Let's Plays and our podcasts and our TG News show, our biggest thing, our Nerd News show, our biggest thing is the Give My Regards to Blackjack manga that we have that we're bringing over from Japan, and you can help us fund it. You can help bring it to the West. It is a medical manga, came out in 2002, an award-winning manga, and, we have more information on it on our Patreon page, and you can find it, and any other questions through our FAQ. But it's a very, interesting project, I would say, and we're really big fans of it. And if you are too, please, you can donate to us to get a copy of Volumes 1 and 2 digitally and or physically. Also a T-shirt from the series and posters and, other cool little stuff like that, again, on our Patreon page, TG Production. But I mentioned Those Guys Play earlier, right? Which, again, you go to our Those Guys Play YouTube channel, where we have, Those Guys Play Season 1 and 2, where we briefly play games, but then expand on them a little bit later in just, Those Guys Play, let's say, Marvel Nemesis, which will be coming out sooner rather than later, where we expand on what we've done in the, in the series. We're currently on Season 2, and a lot more episodes, even some with you and I, Anthony, will be coming out soon. And also, right, we have merchandise, which will be up on our website soon. We used to have a cafe press with it, but that is shelved for the time being, and we will be having one directly from our website, again, being thoseguysonthe.radio.tumblr.com, and a lot of cool, merchandise related to our podcasts and our Let's Plays that, again, will be on our main website. And we were also located on iTunes, located as if we are in iTunes, everyone. We live. You can find our podcasts on iTunes by searching up Those Guys. And also, I mentioned that we have a Those Guys Play YouTube account. We have a Those Guys on the Radio YouTube account, which you can also see some of our podcasts on. And we have TG Productions YouTube account where you can see our TG News show, which is a bit of like a nerd news with a very fun twist, I guess like a joking twist to it. And also other little skits that will be appearing sooner rather than later. And even with some more TG News shows that will be popping up. So a lot of fun there. Right, a lot of fun stuff coming out. And, of course, as always, we'll be doing podcasts, you and I, Anthony, and some other hosts that we have, Dragon Ball Super with myself and Tristan Walter, usually doing Star Wars Wednesdays, also with Tristan Walter, but you and I doing our Friday night movies, which I'm going to say right now, we can confirm, unless things change, next week we'll be doing Iron Man 2 and Hulk.
Thor.
So, not Hulk, Thor. We did Hulk. There's only one Hulk movie, Matt, despite you wanting more. There's only one Hulk movie in the Marvel canon, not counting 2003 because it's not in the Marvel canon. But there's only one Hulk movie, Matt, despite you wanting more. So we'll be doing Thor 1 and Iron Man 2. And we'll see how that goes next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, thank you all, and have a good night, everyone. Hashtag better than Pa Kent. I don't know how to. I don't. Every week I wanted him to just always
you don't
get pissed and
understand.
be like,
I waited all podcast. I'm like, it's going to come up here. No, it's not. It's going to come up here. I thought it was safe, man.
I also forgot about it all podcast. Oh yeah, I guess Nicolas Cage as a dad better than Pa Kent. Is that what you thought I was going to do?
Yes.
Shoots her in the chest better than Pa Kent. Is that what you thought?
Yeah.
Well, I forgot about it too, damn it. Anyway, thank you all. Have a great night, and say good night, Anthony.
Have a good night, everybody.
You're so fucking pissed. I love it. All right, so have a good night, everyone.
Have a good one.